Well, wrestling fans, I am very, very happy today. Why am I very happy? Because earlier this week, Lucha Underground had its Season 2 premiere. Returned after a 5-month hiatus, and Lucha Underground is fucking back. And that premiere was unbelievably good. It's like they picked up right where they left off and just... the episode was just the right balance of familiar and what we expect from them and what they've done before in the past, and then combining it with taking things in a new direction and adding and building on what they had already established. And it was, I couldn't have been happier with the first episode. It was great. But I'll go into more detail in this video. And actually, I thought it would be fun for this particular video to do an entire rundown of all the wrestling shows I watched this week, from Raw, Smackdown, NXT, TNA, and Lucha Underground, and give my thoughts on all of them in greater detail and compare them all, and it shows which ones are better, which ones are worse, and yada yada yada, all that other stuff. But I'm going to go into more detail about the Lucha Underground premiere, but trust me when I say it was very, very good. I've actually already watched it 3 times. I was that happy with it. I was so excited after it was done that first night. I went back and immediately rewatched it, and then right before I started filming this video, I rewatched it again just to see. It was like, does it hold up? Yeah, it does. It really does hold up. Lucha Underground in 1 week is already back to being the best weekly wrestling show out there today. And that's my opinion on the matter, but whatever. But before I jump into the specifics of all the other different shows that happened this week, a couple news and notes. This video is also going to include my top 10 matches from January 2016. Normally I would save that for my first video in February, but it's actually January 31st right now. So... yeah, I imagine my list isn't going to change too much, so I figured, what the hell, I'll just go ahead and throw it out there now. So that'll be the last thing tacked on at the end of the video. Of course, there'll be a table of contents below, outlining everything and where you can find and where you can jump to certain parts of the video that you want to listen to, so have fun with that. I'm going to be doing that, and a couple news and notes as far as wrestling is concerned. A couple of interesting things happened this week. Sheamus got hurt, which... WWE, they were really getting bit by the injury bug. To, like, a scary degree. That's, all places of the roster, it feels like everybody just up and down is just getting hurt, and I don't know what is going on or why that is. I really don't know, but it's really, it's one of the reasons that the current plan for WrestleMania is what it is right now. We were probably going to get... Roman Reigns. I would imagine Roman Reigns versus John Cena was probably discussed at some point. If not penciled in as the plan, I'm sure the idea was brought up, but now we've got Triple H and Roman Reigns. And even further back than that, I'm sure the original plan was Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. I'm pretty sure that Seth was going to head into WrestleMania as the champion. I could be wrong on that, but no, actually... yeah, with Sheamus being the Money in the Bank, which why the hell would you give the Money in the Bank to Sheamus? But that probably would have thrown a monkey wrench into things, but who knows? I don't even know. But I'm sure Seth would have figured into their plans for the main event, or at least one of the big matches. So I'm sure Sting versus Undertaker was definitely discussed. Can't happen now because of Sting's condition. Of course, I heard the other day that apparently the plan is to do Undertaker versus Braun Strowman, which okay, that's not gonna work. I know they want to do Strowman versus Big Show because whatever. I don't know what's the benefit of putting Undertaker with Strowman. The match itself isn't going to be very good. Strowman's not going to go over. I wouldn't think. Just based on their track record, I highly doubt that they're going to give the big guy the big win over Undertaker. And and if Undertaker beats him, then it's like it's just another young guy getting fed to the wolves. So what's the benefit there? Might as well just keep booking Strowman like an unbeatable monster and just let him keep killing people. If you're not going to let him beat Undertaker, then don't put him up against Undertaker. There's no reason. Because Taker doesn't benefit from it. I've seen him kill every giant, going all the way back to Giant Gonzalez and everything. It's like, look, we've been here, done that, we're done. Can we just come up with something different? I don't know. But, the injury bug in the WWE is really getting to be a problem. And it's one of the reasons that WrestleMania is as weird as it is right now. But another major headline that came up was a little bit of an incident on the TNA UK tour, which I found somewhat interesting. Apparently, Rebby Sky, the wife of Matt Hardy, the current TNA World Heavyweight Champion, which I'm going to talk about that in a bit as well, had a bit of an altercation with Awesome Kong, who took umbrage with something that Rebby Sky did. I still don't know what that thing is. And I haven't heard any updates or anything, but apparently it got so bad that Kong physically assaulted Rebby Sky and got sent home from the tour. Now, again, I don't know all the specifics of what the altercation or what caused the disagreement and what caused things to get heated. I'm not saying Rebby Sky is a saint. I don't really know. I don't really know her. Anything about her other than all I know about her is that she's Matt Hardy's wife and the mother of his child, and I also know she's a New York Giants fan. Don't ask me how I know that. I just do. But that's literally all I know about her. I don't know if she's a pain in the ass in the locker room or anything, but even if she is, physically assaulting her in the locker room to settle a dispute is probably not the best way to go. And really, it kind of just makes Kong look like I don't want to say bully, just kind of like a loose cannon, like a hothead that, probably for the best that she got sent home. I don't know if this means she'll be, this will be a permanent departure from TNA, but she also did this another time. She physically assaulted Bubba the Love Sponge, which I don't blame her. Bubba the Love Sponge is a waste of space and a piece of shit. And I mean, I can fully understand why she would want to beat the ever-living shit out of him, whether he talks shit about Haiti or not. I was like, no, it's like I can sit here all day and list reasons why anybody would want to kick his ass, but you still probably shouldn't do it if you want to keep your job. So, there are better ways to handle your professional problems. Lord knows I've worked with people that I wanted to beat the crap out of, never did. It's one of the reasons I'm still employed, among other things. But, I never... there were a couple of bosses I would have liked to punch in the face, but I never did it, and I kept my job. So, you should be able to voice your concerns and voice... if you have a problem with somebody or something, you should be able to voice your concerns and everything without too much fear of repercussion. But when you start throwing fists and stuff and start physically assaulting people, then it's like, then we've got a problem. And but that's the end of that. We'll see what happens with Kong going forward. I don't know. I mean, it's not like she was doing anything in TNA that was setting the world on fire anyway. She's slowed down a lot. I've heard she's battling a lot of injuries, and it kind of shows if you watch her work now. She's not the Kong that you saw like 9-10 years ago or anything like that. She's slowed down considerably, and sticking her with the dollhouse... okay. Sure. But yeah, we'll... hopefully there'll be more updates on that scenario, and we'll see what's going on there. But with that, let's jump into what happened on Monday Night Raw this week. A couple of things I wanted to go over. The main event of Fastlane is the big one. That's obviously the major development that came out of Raw this week. But before I go into that, let's go into the smaller things. You had Bo Rida going up against Flo Rida. Bo Dallas having a battle rap with Flo Rida. And am I the only one that thought that Bo Dallas won that? I'm sorry. I thought A, he was funnier, and B, his rap was better. I'm like, no, I would say that Bo Dallas won that. But unfortunately, the whole thing kind of boiled down to another instance of a celebrity kind of making the wrestlers look like chumps, which is for some reason is the standard now. But it is what it is. But at least Bo Dallas was a little bit of that old Bo Dallas charm and fun that you saw in NXT kind of shine through a little bit. Now, I don't want them to make Bo Rida a permanent thing, because it's like, that's another thing that WWE does a lot. When something gets over and becomes funny, they ram it down your throats until it's no longer funny. It's like, no, just let the one thing stand. Just let it stand. It was a funny thing that you did once, and just let it stand. It doesn't have to be a weekly thing. And sometimes they can't help themselves with that, but... we'll see if Bo Rida makes any future appearances going forward. But So that happened. We also had the AJ Styles Chris Jericho match, which was AJ Styles' Raw debut. And I have to say, I haven't made this point yet. I like AJ's theme music. I was worried, and I was talking about this with a friend of mine. We were worried that they were going to give AJ like the redneckiest, like country bumpkinest Southern theme you could possibly imagine. And he actually made the point that AJ's first theme song in TNA was just this. It was terrible, and B, it was just this endless loop of born and raised in the USA. That was the first theme they gave him before the I Am song that he's more famous for. And it was just kind of the most southern redneckiest theme song I've ever heard. And we were concerned that WWE was going to do something similar with him here, and they didn't. They gave him this kind of neat little rap theme that actually sounds pretty good, and it's like, oh, okay. And I was sitting there watching the match with Chris Jericho, which was solid, not great. Like I said, Jericho's not what he used to be, so I have a lower expectation of his matches now, but overall it was okay. I enjoyed the match just fine, and AJ went over. I was sitting there the whole time, it's like, if AJ doesn't win this match, I swear to God, there's no reason for Chris Jericho to be beating him here, and thank God, AJ went over. So no problem there. So yeah, AJ got a big win. I probably would have had his Raw debut be more of a squash match. Actually, the match he had on SmackDown, which I'll cover that when I talk about SmackDown, but the match he had on SmackDown against Curtis Axel was more along the lines of what I probably would have done for his Raw debut, but just let him have more of a dominant win and have him get a bunch of his moves over instead of working like a competitive match. I feel like if you book him strong, when he has the competitive matches later on, it'll mean more and it'll be, more exciting. Of course, I think squash matches are so helpful and so valuable anyway, but nobody wants to listen to me on that one. That's my old dinosaur mentality. But in any case, overall, it was a good Raw debut for AJ, and it's like, okay, they haven't fucked up with him yet. And I'm still kind of like, I'm still tentative, and I'm still kind of like, I've seen this happen so many times before, but right now, it's like, okay, they haven't fucked up yet. I think we're doing it okay so far. But yeah, so that match happened. The Rock came back and basically just did shtick for 30 minutes. And it was funny. I mean, a lot of the stuff when he walking around backstage and everything, just randomly saying happy birthday to Pat Patterson and making fun of the New Day and all sorts of things like that. It was all funny. It's just, I thought because I knew it was going to be Rock when they said that a big WWE star was coming back. I was like, well, it's Miami, so it's probably going to be The Rock. And it was. And I thought that he was going to announce whatever his WrestleMania plans were, like start his WrestleMania program or something, because he's going to be at WrestleMania. We don't know in what capacity yet. And I thought on Raw they were going to shed some light on what he was going to do come Mania time. And that didn't really happen. He just kind of did shtick the whole time. That was pretty much all he did, which, if there's a guy that can get away with just rambling and doing shtick for 30 minutes, it's probably The Rock. But, again, I'm the type of guy that's like, all right, how are we moving the characters in the story forward here? And this segment didn't really do that. But it was, like I said, it was funny. I've seen far more painful attempts at random humor. So, yeah, I mean, it was funny. And his interactions with the New Day were funny. Which, the New Day, by the way, I have to make this point. And I made this point in my Royal Rumble review, and I'll say it again here. They're really not heels. I mean, they're really not in any kind of like traditional sense anyway. They're just a bunch of obnoxious weirdos that get humiliated all the time. That's what they are. And I always compare them to Edge and Christian because it is a very similar concept. They're these... they're supposed to be heels, but they're kind of these silly, goofball type of heels, but they're supposed to be heels. Edge and Christian, for all the jokes and all the catchphrases and everything, they used to do these really dastardly things like the concerto and give people concussions, or like they went out of their way to humiliate the Hardy Boys and do all sorts of like crappy things like that. So they were heels. The New Day, I'm like, what do they do that's really that heelish? They just come out, insult hometowns, which fucking all the heels do that. So it's like, okay, that's at best that's cheap heat. And then most of the time they get humiliated, whether it's by The Rock or whoever it is they're on the mic with or whatever. So it's like, to me, they're just a bunch of doofuses that just kind of get humiliated all the time. So Yeah, I wish they would actually have the New Day do heelish things. So, I mean, they cheat, but... And that's another thing they do, but I could sit here all day and probably list examples of how the John Cena character is a far better heel than the New Day is, as far as being hateable and the villains in their own storylines. I'm like, fucking Cena's got the New Day beat any day of the week. And it's one of the reasons that the New Day gets cheered, because it's like, what do they do that's really that bad? Like, I think about it, like, what do they do that's really that despicable? Aside, like, what do they do that separates them from all the other heels? And actually, another friend of mine, Eric Clancy, my co-host at Weekday Warriors of Wrestling, he argued that it's almost like the WWE in their minds. The only difference between faces and heels is that faces want to fight right here, right now, and heels don't. And that's really the main divide between heels and faces. Faces want instant gratification, and heels are cowards that do not, and never want to have said fight, and make the fans boo them for not wanting to fight or whatever. And that's really the only divide between heels and faces at this point. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of true. And then we have the stuff with the main event where, of course, 4-on-2 handicap match and the two guys beat the four. And I'm like, yeah, Cena superpowers activate. They're passing on to the baby faces of the new generation, which would be Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose. And this was the problem I had with the Fastlane main event that they made. It's Brock Lesnar versus Dean Ambrose versus Roman Reigns with the winner facing Triple H at WrestleMania. I'm like, okay, on paper that match is about as, I mean, it's fine, I guess. But two problems. One, the whole theme of the show was we have to win matches to impress the Authority so that we can get into the Fastlane main event and then challenge Triple H at WrestleMania. I guess you could say Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose, they won a 2-on-4, so them being the two. So it's like, well, okay, I guess if you're trying to impress somebody and get a title shot, I'm like, all right, you want a handicap match fairly without too much difficulty, and it's like, okay, I guess that makes sense, even though world title competition is singles wrestling and tag team wrestling is a completely different discipline. So whatever. What does winning a tag match have to do with going for a singles title? But whatever. It's like I put too much logic into it anyway. So it's like, all right, but how the hell did Brock Lesnar get in there? Like, how the hell? Because the whole theme of the show, of the Monday night show, was we have to impress the Authority to get into this Fastlane main event. It's like, well, Brock didn't wrestle that night, so what did he do to impress the Authority? It's like, so you really could have just made this announcement. I mean, did you know that Brock was going to be in the main event beforehand? Before Raw was, the theme of Raw was set? I mean, if you knew you were going to put Brock Lesnar in this match anyway, then why not just announce the main event at the start of the show? I mean, why'd you have to wait until the end of the show to make the announcement? It didn't really make a whole lot of sense. And what really didn't make any sense is that Roman Reigns is in this match. So I'm sitting here thinking, okay, so you spent all this time, them being the Authority, to screw Roman Reigns out of the world title, to the point that entire episodes of Raw were dedicated to screwing him out of the title, and reusing tropes from 1998, 99, and 2000 were reused and brought up and redone again to try and take the title off of Roman Reigns. They finally succeeded with their whole Royal Rumble plan, and it's like, all right, you finally screwed Roman Reigns out of the title. All right, you accomplished what you wanted to do. And in one night, you put him right back into the title picture. I mean, yeah, you're putting him in a triple threat that includes Brock Lesnar. So, I mean, winning that match on paper isn't easy. But you know what's harder? You know what's a harder path to the WWE Championship? Not being in contenders matches at all. Like, why would they just willy-nilly just put Roman Reigns in a contenders match? So if he wins, which I'm almost 100% certain that he is, why... Why did the Authority put him in that match? I mean, what roadblock did Roman Reigns have to overcome to get back into the title picture? Just to use an example, Lex Luger in 1993 could not easily get another title shot at Yokozuna, because when he faced Yokozuna the first time, there was a clause in the contract that if he doesn't defeat Yokozuna for the title, he will never get another title shot. And Luger had to overcome that to get another title shot, and he overcame it by winning the Royal Rumble. or co-winning the Royal Rumble, I should say, and he got his second title shot at WrestleMania 10 later that year, in which he was also unsuccessful, but in any case, whatever. But that's my point. It's like the babyface the challenger has to overcome whatever obstacles that are put in front of him, and you would think that given the way the storylines have been for the last 2-3 months now, that Roman Reigns would have to overcome some significant issues to get back into that title picture and challenge Triple H at WrestleMania. And it was like, no, we're just putting him in the contenders match because reasons. So if Roman Reigns ends up winning this triple threat match, which again I'm almost 100% certain that he will, it's like, it just makes the Authority look stupid. It's like, oh, hey, that guy you hated just got back into the title picture because you said so, because you're stupid. Great evil plan there. But in any case, yeah, you just shrug your shoulders at it. I mean, Raw was not a disaster this week, but far from it. It was actually one of their better shows in recent memory, but still not great. Still not thrilled that Triple H is the champion. Still not thrilled about what the end game is for WrestleMania 32. But whatever. I mean, I guess it's too late to change it now. So who the hell knows? But yeah, that's Raw. And let's continue on with the WWE by talking about this week's episode of Smackdown, which failed to leave much of an impression on me. Yeah, it's, and I've heard Vince McMahon say this a lot in interviews, is like he likes to have stories behind his matches, and he doesn't like to do wrestling for the sake of wrestling. And I'm like, really, Vince? Because you kind of do it more than anybody, like any other promotion out there right now. I think WWE has the most pointless matches for the sake of matches than any other promotion around. This show started off with an 8-man tag. I wouldn't dare try to remember everyone that was in it. I think it was the New Day and the Miz versus Titus O'Neil, the Usos, and Dolph Ziggler. Oh my god, I think I got all 8 of them. Okay, fine. Yeah, it was just a random-ass 8-man tag because they love random-ass matches. The main event was Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, and who the fuck was their partner? It was Chris Jericho, who's looking really doughy and really fat now. It's like, when I saw him during the highlight reel segment, and actually I have to say for the highlight reel segment, some of Reigns and Ambrose's interactions were pretty good. But yeah, Jericho, I took one look at him, and for those of you who have seen The Incredibles, when Edna looks at Mr. Incredible for the first time, she's like, my god, you've gotten fat. And that's kind of my reaction to Jericho now. It's like, god damn, you do not look like Jericho anymore. It's just, ugh. But yeah, you had that 6-man tag main event, which of course ended with the babyfaces standing tall because, fuck the Wyatts. I mean, why we gotta make them look good? And then Big Show comes down and turns face for the 8 billionth time. I've lost any and all track of Big Show's heel and face turns. The faces totally trust Big Show for whatever reason. I don't know why. And, they all beat up the Wyatts and sent him running because faces need to stand tall. Yay, no consequences to anything. Yay. And it was just a capstone to a pointless episode. What else? There was Kalisto versus Neville, which was, again, not a bad match to have, but there was really, I didn't feel like there was a lot of build-up to it. It was for the U.S. title. I'm like, since when is Neville at, is he at that U.S. title level? Because I can't remember the last time I saw Neville win a match. It's been a while. I don't know. I'm sure he's won some of those random-ass tag matches. I don't know. Everything just kind of goes in and out. But anyway, it didn't feel like there was much of a build-up to this at all. It was just a random match that they threw out there for the sake of having one. And that was kind of the theme of the whole show. The one match they had that I kind of liked, or had some kind of storyline purpose behind it, was AJ versus Curtis Axel, which followed up from the Royal Rumble because AJ eliminated Axel from the Rumble, and then Axel got mad, and then that set up this match. I was like, oh my god, it's something that happened 3 or 4 days ago at the Royal Rumble actually had an impact on one of the characters, and it led to a match. It was like, okay, cool. I can get behind that. It was also the first time we saw AJ hit the Styles Clash, which was pretty cool. It was great to hear Mauro Ranallo call an AJ Styles match again, although Lawler's commentary was putrid because he just constantly went on and on about how anything that anything that AJ did outside of the WWE doesn't matter, and blah blah blah, and all this other shit. And it's like they do this with every like indie guy that they get. It's like it's fucking insane. And it's like, I watch the NFL. They reference guys' college careers all the time. I'm just saying it's not. I'm not saying that being good outside of the WWE automatically makes you good in the WWE, but it does provide context for people who may not know who he is. It's like, yeah, this guy succeeded here, here, and here, and now he's in the WWE. And let's see how he does. And, he picked up this move set in Japan, or, he accomplished this thing in TNA, or blah, 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 or whatever. Not that they're ever going to mention TNA by name, but, it's... the guy's past and what they accomplished before getting into the WWE can provide context of who they are. And to constantly have one of the commentators just shit on it, it's like, okay. It's just annoying more than it is anything else. And, Lawler, I thought maybe him being the heel announcer would be better. It's not. It's really not. But because he's basically turning into Michael Cole now, which, yay. Like heel Michael Cole, for those of us who remember that unfortunate run that they would not let end. It's like Jerry Lawler had to have a heart attack for them to stop with the Michael Cole pushing and the Michael Cole heel turn and all that nonsense. But in any case... the AJ Axel match, I kind of liked it. It was more the match that I had envisioned for Raw for AJ, what I talked about earlier, where it's like they pretty much just gave AJ a dominant win where he beat a lower level guy and came off looking good. Not all of his moves looked as crisp. He couldn't hit the flip out of the corner into the inverted DDT like he used to. I don't know. I don't know if that was just a mess up or whatever. And in some ways, AJ's looking a little bit more sluggish than he has in the past. I mean, I just watched him less than a month ago tear the house down with Nakamura at Wrestle Kingdom 10. So I'm not saying that AJ's like done or diminishing or anything, but maybe he's having a little trouble adjusting to the WWE style, which. Not the end of the world. I mean, Jericho. Go back and watch some of Jericho's early WWF stuff. He had a lot of trouble adjusting to the WWF style until he finally got it right. So, but yeah, he wasn't perfect right off the bat. So, back when I liked Jericho. Back in those days. But, it's like, again, AJ's undefeated so far. It's like they haven't fucked him up yet. So, yay, here's hoping. Here's hoping. So, yeah, Smackdown was largely forgettable. I think at this point the only reason I watch it is for Mauro Ranallo's commentary, but how much longer is that going to last? At least it's shorter than Raw. I mean, 2 hours. I mean, for me, 1 hour is the ideal time frame to have for a wrestling show. But 2 hours is a lot easier to digest than 3. I mean, Jesus Christ. There were days... Actually, I was talking to another friend of mine. I've got a ton of wrestling friends. Surprise. He was talking to me. It's like, dude, this week was the first time I've watched Raw in like 5 years. And I'm like, yeah. It's like, does it really need to be 3 hours? I'm like, the answer to that question is no, but they feel that they have to be 3 hours. So, hey, whatever. I mean, somebody feels that that's a good idea, whether it's USA Network or WWE or whatever, but... in any case, it makes the show harder to watch and harder to remember and harder to digest because there's so much material being fucking thrown at you that and stretched out over such a long period of time that you're bound to not remember everything once the show's over. But SmackDown largely forgettable this week, which again it's SmackDown, so it's not really that much of a surprise. And I guess I'll wrap up my talk about the WWE shows with NXT. They're best show on the WWE Network, without a doubt, and the best weekly wrestling show that they produce. This week's episode, I have to say, though, not particularly memorable, except for maybe the main event. Actually, definitely the main event. The main event was memorable, but a lot of the filler stuff in between, which normally serves as like great character builders or setting up of things for the future, there wasn't a whole lot going on that was just that interesting. The new gimmick for Elias Sampson, the Drifter, I'm not really feeling it. I'm just not. I think part of the problem is that he's supposed to be a drifter that goes from place to place and just, he's a drifter. And to me, it kind of kills the gimmick when NXT hardly ever travels because they're always in, Full Sail for most of their shows, and then I guess the takeover specials venture outside, and they'll do house shows that venture outside of Full Sail, obviously. But for the most part, they're in Full Sail, so it's just weird that I'm a drifter. I go from place to place, and then I just magically wind up in the same place whenever NXT needs me to wrestle. And it's like, okay, if they were touring, it would probably make a lot more sense. You could even do vignettes of him traveling from town to town in between matches or something, but as is, it's just kind of a weird gimmicky thing that's not really working for me. Dana Brooke. Now, I'm not one to insult women's looks. I don't know if it's the makeup or what, but her face looked really weird this week. Really, really weird. Somebody made the comment that she looked like she got shot in the face with Homer Simpson's makeup gun. It's like, damn, honey, you can ease up on the makeup a little bit. I don't know. Her face looked really, really weird. And I don't know what that was about, but yeah. One bright spot, though, Jordan and Gable wrestled against Blake and Murphy. Had a pretty solid match. They have a new tag team name, the American Alphas. I'm fine with that. There's an A double I can get behind right after Arn Anderson, but Jordan and Gable, yeah, I'm really digging them as a team. I think they're really, really good and coming on strong. And I think, I haven't read the spoilers yet or I'm not going to read the spoilers for NXT because I want to be surprised to watch how everything develops. But I would be shocked if at the next TakeOver special they weren't challenging for the tag titles. It just seems like that's where we're going here with them, and I'm completely fine with that. They're great. I mean, Jordan and Gable, they're just they really stumbled onto gold with that duo. I really, really liked them. I mean, even the backstage stuff they do, their promos, I think, are really funny, and I think they have really great chemistry together. So they're just a perfectly enjoyable team, all around, from their athletics to their personalities to their chemistry together. They're just great. I really enjoy them. What else happened on this show? Is that basically it, aside from the main event? Yeah. Alex Riley came back. Congratulations, you still have a job, I guess. Don't really have much else to say other than that. I don't know. Riley's a guy that had some potential at one time and then just never amounted to anything. So it's kind of like, why are you still here? But I'm always willing to give somebody a chance. So if they've got a good idea for him, and they have a character direction, and they have a story that'll work, maybe he'll build into something and finally realize the potential that he once had. I don't know. Just shrugging the shoulders right now, and we'll see how it goes. Then we had the main event, which had been built up for a couple weeks. Sami Zayn versus Samoa Joe versus Baron Corbin in a triple threat match to determine the number one contender to Finn Balor. Match was good. Started off a little slow, but the ending got really good, and the finish was actually pretty well designed, with Sami locking in a sharpshooter on Baron Corbin, and then Joe coming up and locking in a crossface, and then Baron Corbin tapping, which led to controversy of who actually won the match. Was it Samoa Joe or Sami Zayn? And the show kind of ended on that cliffhanger, which I was fine with, because then it allows the story to continue next week, because that's a major thing that they have to address on next week's episode. Is like, all right, who is the number one contender? Is it Sami Zayn or Samoa Joe? I'd imagine they're either going to have a match between the two one-on-one, or maybe do Joe versus Zayn versus Balor in a triple threat. I would prefer it if Sami got the title shot and we get Balor versus Zayn, because Balor versus Joe, we already got it. So I'm just kind of like, we already got it. We're good. I don't, even though they could probably, if they save the rematch for the next TakeOver, they could probably really make it work and make it something, make it feel like a big deal, because it'll be their first match in 4 months, as opposed to, the normal way of doing things in the WWE, which is have the same people wrestle each other every week for 6 months or whatever, to the point where you get sick of seeing it. But, or at the very least have them wrestle each other once a month to where you get sick of it. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes. And like I said, I like the ending to the main event. I think it creates a bunch of storyline questions moving forward. It actually creates more intrigue in the show. It's like, all right, I want to watch the show now, just see how everything plays out. If they had done this at a TakeOver special or like a big event, it would have felt like a cheat, because it's like everything builds up to those TakeOver specials. Then you do like a schmaz, and it's like, that feels kind of lame. But I like some more defined, an ending that's more defined. But as the show is used to build up to the bigger matches, I think this ending worked out really fine. And again, I'm looking forward to seeing how it all plays out. So we're good there. So yeah, NXT, good main event. American Alphas are great. That's about all there is to take away from this particular episode. But, NXT, they're very good at adopting the mindset of slow and steady wins the race. And I've heard some people say that their weekly shows aren't that good. It's like, no, their weekly shows are setting up things for the takeover specials, and that's one of the reasons the takeover specials feel so amazing, is because they spent weeks and weeks and weeks like setting all these little things into place very slowly, and then when you get to the big climax of takeover, it's awesome. So it looks like they're still keeping to that pace, which is good. And I think NXT is going to continue to be good going forward. But again, here's hoping. But yeah, those are my thoughts on NXT this week. And with that, let's jump into TNA Impact. I haven't had a chance to talk about this, but Matt Hardy is now the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Turned heel and will now be ruling the show with an iron fist. So we got Triple H as the champion on one show, and we've got Matt Hardy as the champion on the other show, and it's like, man, what's Matt Hardy's catchphrase? I will not die. And I'm like, yeah, I'll take it a step further and just say the Attitude Era will not die. It's crazy. It's crazy to think about. Of course, it's also weird when you look at the TLC 6, which was the Hardys, the Dudleys, and Edge and Christian. Devon Dudley is the only one out of that bunch to never win a World Heavyweight title. Don't know why that is, but this is what we're looking at right now with the World Heavyweight title scene on both shows. It's like, wow, guys that I was watching when I was in middle school. Triple H especially. I was like, when he first came to WWF, I was like 10 years old. So that's just crazy. And then, guys that I watched in like middle school and high school are like still on the show and still like World Heavyweight Champion, or like, Matt Hardy wasn't up to that level at the time, but it's just really weird to me. It's like, man, some of these guys just never leave. It's really crazy. But given the state that TNA's in right now, I guess it's not a shocking move. It's like, get the most well-known guy we have and put him put the world title on him. But the sight of Tyrus with the baby is hysterical. That was the thing I took away from it. It's like, that is hysterical. He's holding Matt Hardy's baby. It's this big fucking blob of a human being, and he's just holding a baby. And it's like, that is kind of, I don't know, it's kind of weird and it's kind of funny, but, whatever. One thing I will say, though, is that it looks like they've lined up a bunch of opponents for him going forward. Like, the way the show ended, it's like, all right, he's going to face Kurt Angle at some point. He's going to face Jeff Hardy for real at some point. Because the main event of the show was Jeff Hardy versus Matt Hardy, but the match never really got underway. So it's like, they're saving that match for later, which is fine. Even though I feel like I've seen Jeff Hardy wrestle Matt Hardy like 18 times, but it's like, whatever. Obviously, EC3 is going to be turning face, which I'm not sure how that's going to work. We'll see. EC3 is a face. I really like him as a heel. I don't know if he's going to get watered down and awful as a babyface, but again, we'll see. Obviously, that's something that's going to happen at some point. And EC3 he was not on the show this week, which I actually like that. He was selling the effects of the week before, and now there's this hanging story thread. Well, what's EC3 doing? Like, how is he going to react to what's going on with Matt Hardy right now? What were his feelings on how the match ended the week before? And blah, 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 blah. They don't give you everything right away. It's nice to actually wait for stuff. And there's actually, like, some attempts at spiderwebbing in their storylines. The ending to the show was a complete clusterfuck, to the point that it was hard to follow. I was like, wait, who's fighting who again? I don't know anymore. This is weird. This is really weird and bad. And if you look at it, there's actually like an attempt at like spider webbing and layers, creating different feuds and stuff. Like, obviously the end game with the tag division, they want to do Wolves versus Beer Money at some point, which is the match that everybody wants. But before they do that, they want to have Beer Money feud with EY and Bram, which, okay, great team there. And the Wolves are stuck feuding with Abyss and Crazy Steve, who may have gotten a good gimmick out of this new character change. I don't know. Crazy Steve actually looks like he's going to do pretty well with it, but again, we'll see how it goes. I'm not sure how much they can continue to milk out of Abyss at this point, but yeah, but so it's like, all right, we know that the end game is Beer Money versus Wolves, but along the way they have these little feuds going on in between, and then they have lower level teams that they can work with as well. So that's not just giving us Beer Money and the Wolves right away. It's like, yeah, make us wait for the really good stuff, you know. And like I said, with Matt Hardy in the world title scene, they've got like all these different guys doing all these different things. It looks like Jeff Hardy may feud with EY a little bit before getting back to facing Matt Hardy, and Kurt Angle's doing his retirement tour right now, but obviously a match with Matt Hardy is going to be done along the line during the course of this retirement tour. So there's like there's attempts at having a good story in place. It's not really being executed all that well, but you know, whatever. What can you do? But yeah, TNA continues to just be what it is. You know, I'm not even sure why I'm watching it. I'm more out of curiosity than anything. It's like, all right, what are they going to continue to do this week? But I mean, TNA's been worse than this, believe it or not. There were periods that were far worse than this. But yeah, I don't know. Matt Hardy is world champion. That's kind of a buzzkill for me. But and the thing I really hated about this week's show was Feast or Fired. I'm pretty sure I've talked about Feast or Fired here in a previous video, but I'll say it again. I hate this match so much. This is one of the dumbest concepts that TNA has ever done. It's stupid. It's just all of it. It's all of the stupid things that I hate. Number one, it's a ripoff of Money in the Bank. You know, you win a briefcase and it gives you a title shot that you can cash in at any moment. Yeah, it's a ripoff of Money in the Bank. Please stop doing that. Number two, I don't understand why the wrestlers would play Russian roulette with their careers. I mean, maybe if it was a one-on-one match and the winner gets a title shot and the loser gets fired, okay, fine. But the way that they've structured the match, it's like if you win, you can get fired. And it's like, that to me is really, really stupid. That to me is really, really just insane. But yeah, you get punished for winning, and that's it just never worked for me. And of course, going back to the Money in the Bank comparison, the Money in the Bank, they do ladder matches. Feast or Fired, it's poles matches. Poles, ladders, which is better? Yeah, pole matches is an instant downgrade, no matter how you look at it. And I just hate the whole concept of Feast or Fired. It's fucking stupid. It's one of the worst things that TNA does, and it never went away. I thought when they did it the first time, I was like, this was really stupid. I hope to God they never do it again. And it never went away. They just kept on doing it, and I'm like, well, motherfucker. Whatever. And now we come to the last show. Yes, I saved the best for last. Lucha Underground, the Season 2 kickoff, which was aired Wednesday night. So, needless to say, this was the best wrestling show of the week. And I wanted to talk about the other shows to highlight the points of why I thought Lucha Underground was the best one of the bunch of all the ones I saw. I'll be honest, I have not watched Ring of Honor since they went off Destination America. I'm sure I can find the show online or something, but that's a topic for another time. But this week, Lucha Underground owned all of the wrestling shows, all of them. It was spectacular. It was just so great, top to bottom. It was like they never left. It was like Lucha Underground's like, nope, still great, still doing all the things I like about the promotion and doing everything, doing things to differentiate from season 1 and. But keeping that same spirit and that same passion intact. And it really comes off as the most exciting, dynamic, and intriguing wrestling show that's out there, especially on a weekly basis. It's about as good as you're going to get. The show starts off with Vampiro in a psych ward being evaluated for release. And the scene looked and was produced and... It looked incredible. Like, the whole thing, like, that whole first 5 minutes or whatever, I was sitting there, my mind was blown because of how awesome and how well done this all was. And they even did stuff where it's like, oh, Vamp's hallucinating, and this stuff is all in his mind, like when he attacks the doctor and all that other stuff. I was like, holy shit, he killed him. Oh no, holy shit, Vamp was imagining the whole thing. And it looks like his sanity is hanging on by a thread. But he was officially released. Matt Striker picked him up, which, credit to Lucha Underground, this is the only wrestling show I've ever seen that made me mark out for Matt Striker, because based on what happened in season 1, I knew that the two were friends. I knew that the two characters worked together at the booth and everything. So having Matt Striker be the one to pick up Vampiro and take him back to the temple, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, fine. And they provided you with an explanation for why Vampiro is back at the booth and why he's not just hanging around with Pentagon all the time. It's like, no, he got committed to a psych ward. And I'm like, that's fucking great. And the whole scene was fucking incredible. And speaking of the temple, we go to Dario Cueto's office, except it's not Dario's office, it's Katrina's office, and her and Mil Muertes are the ones calling the shots. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? This is so fucking great! And, yeah, and you have Katrina calling the shots from the office and everything. She's designed the office to match her personality, which I'm completely fine with. And then you have Mil Muertes sitting on a throne looking like motherfucking Shao Kahn from Mortal Kombat, watching all of the matches go down. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is so... Oh my god, and it looks so cool, and it looks so great, and it looked so just fantastic, and I was so happy watching this. I'm like, this is... I don't have the words to describe how awesome all of this was. And if you look at Lucha Underground, you look at Raw, they're both basically doing the exact same angle. If you think about it, on Raw, Triple H and the Authority and Stephanie and Vince and all them, they're in charge. They're in charge of the show, and they manipulated the variables to get the World Heavyweight title on Triple H, and now they're going to continue to manipulate the variables to keep the belt on him, presumably. And using their power and authority to, make things go the way they want them to go. Lucha Underground, you have Katrina and Mil Muertes in charge of the temple. Mil Muertes is the champion, and they're manipulating the variables to make them go the way that he wants them to go. It's the same angle, but why is it awesome on Lucha Underground and why is it boring on Raw? It's like, well, on Raw you could say it's because Triple H is almost 50 years old, and it's kind of like, ugh, really? He's the champion again? And even like the idea of Triple H owning the show and being the champion while owning the show, it's something that we saw in 2000. So it's not exactly new, and that's part of it, but another part of it is just the way both angles are presented. On Raw, it opened up with this really long-winded promo explaining how everything's going to be mapped out, like word for word. They're like, we're going to make the Fastlane main event, da-da-da-da-da, and you need to impress us to get into the Fastlane main event, blah, 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 blah. And they explained, like, over-explained everything to the point that, really, you'd have to be certifiably stupid to not understand what was going on. Lucha Underground explained most of it visually and accomplished a lot of those same ideas. Just like I said, Mil Muertes sitting on the damn throne, and like he's literally overlooking the entire show and all of the matches while all this shit is going on. And it was just it's just more exciting, it's more interesting, it's more dynamic, and it's a lot more fun to watch. It also helps that Lucha Underground is only an hour long. And by the end of the show, I'm like, I want more. And after every Raw, I'm like, wow, that was 3 hours. That was a long, that was a long road to travel, But anyway, continuing with the show, the production of the show still looks fantastic, still looks like a movie, and it fits perfectly. Our first match was a title match, actually. It was Fenix versus King Cuerno for the Gift of the Gods Championship. And a very exciting match. Very exciting, just flying all over the place. Some of the camera angles didn't look great, but overall, it was just a very exciting, fast-paced, high-flying match with King Cuerno actually defeating Fenix to win the Gift of the Gods Championship. I'm like, holy shit, it's like a title change right off the bat. And they revealed later in the show that King Cuerno has a deal with Katrina. And we don't know what the deal is, but I'm guessing it's that he's not going to cash in on the Mil Muertes title shot. That the whoever holds the Gift of the Gods title can cash in for a shot at the World Heavyweight title. And I'm guessing that their deal is that King Cuerno won't accomplish the cash in, and as long as he's holding the Gift of the Gods Championship, that's one less contender that Mil Muertes won't have to worry about. And I'm like, okay, that's cool, but it's like, holy shit. And it's like, but again, they didn't really like go overboard explaining it. They just kind of leave it up to your imagination, and then you can kind of speculate and move on from there. And I thought, again, I think it's very effective, and I think it works really well. And again, we got a nice, exciting match out of it, so kudos. And then after that, everyone's favorite dysfunctional trio, Ivelisse, Son of Havoc, and Angelico, came in demanding a shot at the trios titles, but instead, Katrina put them in a triple threat contenders match against each other, with the winner facing Mil Muertes for the World Heavyweight title that night. So again, they're manipulating the variables. They're turning partners against each other, and Mil Muertes is going to have to defend the title against a person that already wrestled. So he's going to have a pretty somewhat easy title shot. And again, I thought the triple threat match turned out really well. I know some people look down on the intergender matches. I don't. I think they add a different dynamic to the show and make it more interesting, and allows characters like Sexy Star and Ivelisse to become more interesting characters and more integral to the show. And they definitely did here, and much to my surprise, Ivelisse actually went over. I was like, holy shit, Ivelisse is going to face Mil Muertes for the World Heavyweight title. That's the first fucking night back, and we've already got a woman challenging a man for the world title. It's like, holy shit, they really swung for the fences tonight. Just really, and really, if you think about it, of the three options, Son of Havoc, Angelico, or Ivelisse, they probably went with the best one, because that's the one that's going to get people talking. And Vince Russo, of all people, actually talked about this. It's like, that's the one of the three possibilities. That was the more interesting match on paper. And it's like, yeah, it actually kind of is, because that's something that'll get attention for people. It's like, yeah, a woman fought a man for the world title on this wrestling show. It's fucking crazy. That thing that no other promotion would ever do. No other promotion would dare do something like that. And Lucha Underground did it, and they did it in a way that worked out really well. And then when you get to the Muertes Ivelisse championship match, it's like she's the instant underdog right off the bat, and it's like, and you're kind of rooting for her a little bit. And basically, Muertes destroyed her, but she got her hope spots in, and you're thinking, it was like, oh my god, she got a couple of big hope spots in there, and you thought maybe she'll pull this off. They did do the one spot where Muertes accidentally speared Katrina. And this is really my only knock on it, because when they did that spot, Katrina was, to me, when Muertes completely plows through a much smaller woman, or a much smaller person in general, quite honestly, I expect that person to be dead. And Katrina was like up after the match and not selling it. And I'm like, that's more nitpicking than anything else. Obviously, Muertes successfully retained the title, but Ivelisse, I mean, she came off looking like a star after this, and I think there's something they can do to play with that going forward. But and even another great detail, they had the Disciples of Death take out Son of Havoc and Angelico before the match, so Ivelisse had no help. That was another thing. They made sure that they were eliminated from the equation before the match began, and overall, I just thought it all came off really, really well and made for an exciting episode. And then after the match was over, Prince Puma came down and super kicked Mil Muertes to get Ivelisse out of harm's way, as she was going to get brutalized even further by Muertes post-match. And I was like, cool, Prince Puma's back, awesome, and I marked out at that. And again, he's the babyface, Muertes is the heel. You get that almost entirely through visuals. It doesn't get pounded into your brain or anything. And there's obviously still some bad blood going back to how things ended at Ultima Lucha. So it was, yeah, that was really good. I marked out for Puma. And then I marked out even more when fucking Pentagon came back. I was like, I swear to God, I turned into a 10-year-old kid. I'm like, oh my God, it's Pentagon, it's Pentagon. And Pentagon Jr. attacks Mil Muertes and breaks his fucking arm. He attacked the World Heavyweight Champion and broke his fucking arm. And I'm like, holy shit. That idea, because I wanted that match. I said that at the end of season 1. It's like, I would really like a Pentagon Mil Muertes feud. And it looks like they're going to do it. And I'm like, God damn it, that is so fucking cool. And I loved how they kept cutting back to Vampiro's reactions as Pentagon was doing this. And it was a very non-committal, very subtle type of reaction where you can't really, you're trying to read his facial expression and what he's saying. He's like, he didn't look like he approved of it. He didn't look like he was disgusted by it. He just kind of looked like he was observing it, and we don't really know what that means or how deep their relationship goes, or at this point, or where their relationship stands now that Vamp is out of the psych ward and using medication to keep his sanity together or whatever. So again, multi-layered show. There's a lot of different fucking things going on, and it was really just an awesome ending to what was a very exciting hour of television. And then we get kind of the stinger at the end. Black Lotus is leading 3 poor saps into a false version of the temple, which is basically the new home of Dario Cueto, is he's getting underground fighters to pay him to let them fight, and basically they're just being fed to Matanza behind in this enclosed area. And it's like, Matanza, we haven't even really seen him yet, and he's all we've seen are his eyes peering out of the side of the truck at the end of Ultima Lucha. And it's like, and the motherfucker already has a body count. How many fucking wrestlers have body counts? It's like, the show is just amazing. And yes, I did mark out for Dario Cueto too, because you got to wonder, it's like, how does he fit into all this and what's going to go on and how season 2 is going to play out? What does he think that Muertes and Katrina took over the temple in his absence, and what is he doing now? Well, he's running this awesome racket where people are paying him to basically get eaten alive by his demented demon brother. And it's like, oh my god, this is so fucking cool. This whole show is just so great. And they crammed so much into that first hour. There was so much going on, and the pace was so quick too. I mean, that hour flew by. And by the end of it, I'm realizing, it's like, man, Johnny Mundo wasn't on the show. Cage wasn't on the show. Who else? Drago wasn't on the show. All these guys, the Mac, a ton of guys that were not on the show this week. And Prince Puma just kind of got tacked on at the end. There's a lot of things going on that we don't know about yet. Or, Sexy Star and Marty the Moth. That cliffhanger was not even addressed in this episode. We're still waiting for that one. So they got so much in that first hour, and there's still a ton of stuff to wait for going forward into week 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and everything moving forward. So Lucha Underground, man, they make everything matter. They make everything exciting, and I'm excited for more. I can't wait for the next episode. I'm sitting here like on the edge of my seat right now, just marking out, waiting for more. But yeah, Lucha Underground, it is a remarkable television and wrestling product. And if you have not seen Lucha Underground, again, I cannot recommend it highly enough. Go watch Lucha Underground. It is fucking amazing. And let's close out this video by listing my top 10 favorite matches from the month of January 2016, shall we? Okay, starting at number 10, it was this week's NXT main event. Sami Zayn versus Samoa Joe versus Baron Corbin in a number 1 contenders triple threat match with the winner facing Finn Balor. There was no clear-cut winner. It ended in a draw between Sami Zayn and Samoa Joe, and we'll see going forward how that issue was resolved. But as is, I thought it was a pretty solid triple threat match that had been built up moderately well and actually mattered in the grand scheme of things and will actually matter moving forward. So, cool stuff. Enjoyed that. Number 9, Alberto Del Rio versus Kalisto for the U.S. title from the January 14th episode of Smackdown. This was a series of matches that got extremely repetitive very quick. It just felt like they were playing hot potato with the belt and everything. And Kalisto had actually won, I think, 1 or 2 non-title matches before this one, so they just did, again, it was just another example of them doing the same match over and over again. But of all the matches that they did, this one was the best one. It was the one where Kalisto first beat Del Rio for the title. It was just a pretty solid match, and I would say probably Del Rio's best match since he's been back. So yeah, it was enjoyable for what it was. Number 8, we're jumping into Lucha Underground territory now. I'm kind of combining them into one spot, but it's the triple threat match between Ivelisse, Son of Havoc, and Angelico, and the Ivelisse Mil Muertes world title match that followed. Again, the way it played out and the way it developed, it just made for very exciting television and made for a great, kind of exciting jump start to the show now that season 2's underway, and they're just back to being awesome. It's just Lucha Underground's back, baby. And this whole sequence was very exciting and very good, and it played out in a way I don't think anybody expected. I don't think anybody would have expected Ivelisse to get the Lucha Underground title shot on the first episode in Season 2. I don't think anybody would have expected these three to be chosen for a number one contenders match with the winner facing Muertes. So, it just made for a very exciting episode and was a lot of fun. So, really enjoyed that. Number 7, the other Lucha Underground match that happened this week, the Gift of the Gods Championship, Fenix versus King Cuerno. High-flying action, craziness all over the place, and you got a big title change right off the bat. So, first match back in Lucha Underground's already exciting. What else can you say? It was just very, very good. Number 6 is actually a TNA match from Impact. Drew Galloiway versus Kurt Angle as part of the Kurt Angle retirement tour. Obviously Kurt Angle's set to retire soon, and I'm assuming when this tour is over, he'll be done for good, or at least done wrestling in TNA. But I thought the match was very exciting, just really good. Showed that Kurt Angle can still go, and showed that Drew Galloiway can go. This is a guy that looked like he was being prepared for greatness in the WWE, and then for whatever reason he lost favor with them, and then just got relegated to being a jobber. And I think in TNA, if there's one thing that TNA's done with him, is that they're showing it's like, no, Drew Galloiway can actually go. And I thought the match that he had with Angle was very, very good, and one of the better TNA matches I've seen in a while. So I'll give TNA the nod there. I thought that match was very good. Number 5 is a match from the Royal Rumble, the best match from the Royal Rumble. Kevin Owens versus Dean Ambrose for the Intercontinental Championship in a last man standing match. Basically, it was just a wild and crazy brawl. Did a bunch of crazy hardcore stuff from bell to bell, and it was exciting to watch. They did some of the things that I get a little annoyed with, like doing these really, really big, crazy spots that don't have much impact in the way of the finish, or should be match enders, but they don't. Kind of like Kevin Owens twisting superplex through the table. I'm like, okay, that should be a finish. I mean, that's especially in a match like this. I mean, that's kind of like, it kind of devalues table spots when you do stuff like that. But they didn't do it as much as I've seen in other last man standing matches, and overall, I thought they just had an exciting match. It was a nice closer to what was actually a pretty solid feud for the Intercontinental title. So hopefully that's a sign of good things moving forward, of like a continued significance and importance put on the Intercontinental Championship. So it was the best match from the Royal Rumble, and I thought it was very good. So kudos to the WWE there. And spots 1 through 4 are all made up of matches that happened at Wrestle Kingdom 10, which was an outstanding show. Number 4 is Kenny Omega versus Kushida for the IWGP Light Heavyweight Championship, or Junior Heavyweight Championship, sorry. Very good match. Very exciting, very well worked, and I would even say the best match that the two had together, because they had wrestled each other a couple of times before last year, and I thought this match was better than all of those, and it was even more satisfying that Kushida won the belt. So all came off really, really well. Number 3 is the Never Openweight Championship match. Tomohiro Iishi defending against Shibata. Hard-hitting, stiff fest that was sick, but so much fun to watch. Just great stuff. Hard-hitting, all from bell to bell. It was outstanding. And Shibata won the title, which made it stand out a lot more, obviously. And overall, it was just an outstanding, exciting match. And I love the Never Openweight Championship matches. They always work these type of matches with that belt. It came off really, really well. Number 2 is AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the IWGP Intercontinental Championship. And this match happened right before both guys left for the WWE. It looks like Nakamura is going to go to NXT, but AJ's obviously, he debuted at the Royal Rumble, which is really weird. He was at New Japan's biggest show, and then less than a month later, he's debuting in the Royal Rumble. It's really, really strange, but this match served as a nice kind of farewell for both men. It was an outstanding match, and every bit as good as you would have wanted out of these two. It was really, really good, excellent stuff. But number 1 match of the month goes to Wrestle Kingdom 10's main event. Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Kazuchika Okada for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Okada avenged the loss from last year, And these two, I don't know how they do it. I think they've had like, 8 or 9 big main event matches together. And there's just magic there when you put them together. And they just have a very good chemistry. They work great together. And this match was no exception. It was just an outstanding main event that worked on so many levels. It was very exciting and very, very good. So those are my 10 best matches of the month. Now, assigning Wrestling Brand of the Month, I strongly considered giving it to Lucha Underground solely on the strength of their one show, but seeing as how it's, it's the beginning and we're still waiting to see how certain things are going to play out, I said, all right, you know what, Lucha Underground is probably going to have many more chances to win Brand of the Month. So I'm going to go ahead and give it to New Japan on the strength of Wrestle Kingdom 10. I mean, this is their biggest show of the year, and once again, they delivered in a huge way. I'm sure by the end of the year, this will be listed as one of my favorite shows of the year. So based on the strength of that alone, I'm going to give New Japan the nod this month. And that's all I have for you now. Thank you for watching this extremely long video. My next video should be the kickoff of my WrestleMania Best to Worst video series, so be on the lookout for that. That'll hopefully be up either Friday or Saturday. That's the goal right now. So hope you all have a good week. If you live on the East Coast, I hope you all got through the snowstorm okay. It looks like I didn't get out of my apartment until Wednesday. So I went from Friday to Wednesday without any human interaction at all whatsoever. Any face-to-face human interaction, I should say. But everything's okay now. I made it. We all made it. It looks like everything's going to be okay. Just keep in mind that it's still a little treacherous out there because, the snow melts and freezes over after night, so it's still slippery out there, so be careful, especially when you're driving. Also, the walls of snow on the sidewalks and the medians in the middle of the roads are so high that visibility is kind of a bitch, so be aware of that as well. But that is all I have for now, so thank you all for watching, and I will see you all later.